On Good Friday, with the sacrifice of the cross, Jesus Christ saved us, realizing his great victory over Satan and sin. In order to better understand what the Redeemer's triumph consists of, it is necessary to clarify first what was the defeat of the redeemed, present in the one who was the head of fallen humanity, the first Adam. As the Church's faith teaches us, Adam sinned greatly in the earthly paradise, by transgressing the precept that God had imposed on him, thus losing the original justice in which he was created. Adam's defeat, in general terms, consisted of not giving God what he was entitled to: faithfulness, obedience, gratitude and docile submission. On the tree of the cross, however, Jesus Christ restored justice that had been violated, offering the Father a worthy reparation for the sin of men and reconciling us to God. Justice, in effect, consists in giving to each one what belongs to him, and God, whose honor had been outraged by original sin and countered countless times by the personal sin of each man, had the right to be offered the necessary reparation for the offense committed. On the cross, the Lord offered the Father, in a most perfect way, what all men have a duty to offer him: the gift of his worship. Being the man like us in everything except sin, Christ rendered the Father the most perfect and profound acts of worship that a human soul would be capable of. By crouching down to the condition of suffering servant and taking on the blame of the whole of humanity, Jesus crucified worshipped God like no other man. From the top of the cross, the Lord also performed the most perfect thanksgiving that the Father could receive. His heart, cursed by his own and saturated with reproaches, cursed no one, but he rose to heaven to bless him from whom he had sweetly received the cup of his pain and sacrifice. These two acts, of adoration and thanksgiving, glorified Christ, perpetuates them forever in heaven and calls us to associate ourselves with the blessings and praises that he addresses to his Father and our Father, his God and our God. While suffering on Calvary, however, Jesus performed two more acts that will only exist as long as there is history, that is, until the end of time. It is about intercession, for which he, the supreme and eternal priest, always remains alive with the Father ad intrapilantem pro nobis cf. Heb 7:25, to pray in our favor, and atonement, performed on the cross in a bloody and renewed way every day on our altar through the bloodless sacrifice of the Mass. Christ, therefore, in the mystery of his Passover, made perfect and strict justice the transgression committed at the beginning by Adam. However, as God of God and light of light, there was a sacrifice that Jesus, in whose eyes nothing is hidden, could not offer: the sacrifice of faith. That is why, closely associated with the redemption at Calvary, Mary's faithful soul, carriage of humanity, was united to the cross of Christ. In fact, since Adam and Eve's sin constitutes disobedience and infidelity, it was fitting that our parents' lack of faith should be compensated with the pure faith of the Mother of God, whose Son, by seeing the Father face to face, he did not need that virtue. After Christ's grave, in fact, only Mary's faith remained alive. Proof of this can be found in the fact that, on Sunday morning, the Virgin S.S. He remained at home, certain of his Son's resurrection, while the Holy Myriads and, later, the other apostles flocked to Jesus' tomb to see if the Master's body had indeed disappeared. That is why we can say that, on Holy Saturday, the Church seems to be reduced to a single heart, to that Immaculate's heart in which, in the midst of silence and sadness, the light of faith has never been extinguished. Unlike Eve, who distrusted God and seized the forbidden fruit, Maria S.S. She gave herself totally to God and offered him the blessed fruit on the tree of the cross that the Holy Spirit had formed in her. The mystery of our redemption, from this perspective, is carried out by two antitypes of our first parents: Christ, new Adam, and Mary, new Eve. In its own way and in its own line, the doors of heavenly paradise have been opened to us again.